Have you ever poured your entire heart, soul, and wallet into someone, only to have them toss you aside like yesterday's news? That's exactly what happened to Mark. He was the perfect boyfriend. He believed in Sarah more than she believed in herself. He worked 2 jobs to put her through grad school, celebrated every tiny victory in her career, and was a rock through every storm. His dream was simple: to build a life with her, the woman he loved more than anything. He thought they were a team, partners against the world. But the moment Sarah tasted success, the moment she landed that high-flying corporate job, everything changed. Suddenly, the man who had built her up wasn't good enough anymore. She started coming home late. The easy laughter they shared was replaced by a tense silence. Mark felt a knot of dread tighten his stomach, but he pushed it down, telling himself it was just the stress of her new job. He trusted her. How could he not? He'd given her every reason to be trustworthy. Then came the phone call that shattered his world. It was a mutual friend, hesitant, apologetic. They had seen Sarah, not at a late-night work meeting, but at a fancy restaurant, holding hands with another man. A man with a shinier car, a bigger house, and a fatter wallet. When Mark confronted her, she didn't even have the decency to look ashamed. She called it growing apart. She said she needed someone on her level. On her level? He wanted to scream. Who got her to that level? Who sacrificed sleep, savings, and his own ambitions so she could reach for the stars? He had lifted her onto a pedestal, and from that pedestal, she looked down on him and found him wanting. The breakup was brutal. She packed her bags, leaving behind not just her old life, but the man who had been its architect. She walked out of his small apartment and into the arms of her wealthy new lover, a man named Julian. The months that followed were a living nightmare for Mark. Every corner of his apartment held a memory of her. The bookshelf he built for her textbooks, the coffee mug she used every morning, the faint scent of her perfume that lingered in the closet. He was heartbroken, adrift in a sea of betrayal. He felt used, like a stepping stone that had been kicked away once it had served its purpose. His friends tried to cheer him up, telling him he was better off without her, that she was poison. Logically, he knew they were right. But logic doesn't mend a broken heart. He had invested years of his life, his emotions, and his finances into a future that had just been stolen from him. Meanwhile, Sarah was living the high life. Champagne dinners, weekend trips to Paris, designer clothes. Julian gave her everything she thought she wanted. She flaunted her new life on social media, each post a glittering dagger twisting in Mark's wound. She looked happy, radiant, like she hadn't a care in the world. She had traded love for luxury, and it seemed like she had won the lottery. Mark eventually had to block her, just to stop the constant, painful reminders of what he had lost and what she had so carelessly thrown away. He focused on his work, pouring all his energy into his own small business, trying to rebuild his life from the ashes of their relationship. It was slow, painful work, but day by day, he started to feel a little more like himself again. Then, about 6 months later, the universe decided to serve up a cold dish of karma. The economy took a downturn, and Sarah's company had massive layoffs. Her high-flying job, the one she'd sacrificed everything for, vanished overnight. She was devastated. She turned to Julian for support, expecting him to be her rock, just like Mark had always been. But Julian wasn't Mark. He hadn't signed up for struggle and unemployment. He was a fair-weather partner. When the glamour faded, so did his affection. He told her he needed space, and not long after, Sarah discovered he was giving that space to a younger, newer model. He cheated on her, just as she had cheated on Mark. The irony was so thick you could choke on it. Suddenly, Sarah was alone. No job, no money, and no rich boyfriend to cushion the fall. The luxury apartment was gone. The designer bags were sold, and the Parisian weekends were a distant memory. She was humbled, humiliated, and terrified. She had nowhere to go. Her parents lived across the country, and she had burned bridges with most of her old friends when she started dating Julian. Desperation clawed at her, and in her darkest hour, she thought of the one person who had never, ever let her down, Mark. Swallowing her pride, which was all she had left, she found his number and called him. Her voice was shaky, filled with tears. She told him everything. The job loss, Julian's betrayal, the crushing weight of her mistakes. She sobbed about how sorry she was, how she realized now what a fool she'd been. She told him he was the only one she could turn to, the only one who had ever truly loved her. She asked if she could just stay with him for a little while, just until she got back on her feet. She was banking on his kindness, on the memory of the man who would do anything for her. Mark listened to her entire story in dead silence. He heard her pain, her regret, her desperation. A part of him, the old Mark, felt a pang of pity. He remembered the woman he once loved, the woman he would have walked through fire for. He could picture her, crying and alone, and the instinct to help, to fix things, was still there, buried deep. But then he remembered the sleepless nights, the gut-wrenching betrayal, and the cold, dismissive look in her eyes as she walked out of his life. He remembered how she had treated him not as a person, but as a tool to be discarded. He took a deep breath. He thought about all the progress he'd made, how he had painstakingly glued the pieces of his life back together. Letting her back in, even for a night, would be like inviting a tornado back into a newly rebuilt house. It would undo everything. He had to protect himself. He had to honor the person he had become in her absence, stronger, wiser, and unwilling to be a doormat. After a long, heavy pause, he finally spoke. His voice wasn't angry or vengeful. It was calm, quiet, and final. He said, "Sarah, I'm sorry to hear you're going through a hard time. I truly am." She started to thank him, hope flooding her voice, but he cut her off gently. "But no, you can't stay here." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "You made your choice 6 months ago," he continued, his voice steady. "You chose him. You chose that life. So now you have to live with it." And with that, he quietly hung up the phone, turned away, and took a deep breath of his own free air. He had finally closed the door on his past, not with anger, but with the quiet dignity of a man who finally knew his own worth. What do you think? Did Mark do the right thing? It's a tough situation, and it really makes you think about forgiveness, self-respect, and second chances. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm really curious to hear what you would have done in his shoes. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more like it, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.